What's up, y'all? Today we're going to talk about the collage essay. We're going to look at two different books, and now while we look at these books, which are Claudia Rankine's Citizen and Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House, while we look at these books as examples of collage memoir or collage essays, know that everything I'm saying also translate for some of these smaller pieces that we're writing in this class. But you could also consider using it, because I know many of you are working on larger memoirs. Consider using this structure for your larger memoirs as well. It's a really popular structure these days. I'm somewhat biased by it, probably, because it's generally what I have been writing and what I really, really like to read. That doesn't mean that you have to like it. That doesn't mean that it's a style that suits you. It's just another way that I'm really introducing you and another option, right, of a way to write. So let's check it out. So speaking of Claudia Rankine's Citizen, one of the greatest books written in the past 20 years, probably. It's really fantastic. It's not memoir in the strictest sense, and some people might even argue, what's the way you even talk about it? It's not even memoir at all, it's poetry. Well, it is and it isn't. It blurs the line between poetry and prose and memoir and poetry, right? And that's one of the beauties of creative nonfiction, which is really the larger genre that we're working with in memoir. But not only that, she blurs the boundaries between you and I, between reader and author, as she just brilliantly and stingingly, writes about race in the United States, critiques race in the United States of America. One of the ways she does this is with her white space in the text, right? And I want you to think about white space not as only important for poetry, but also for memoir as well, right? In all writing that you do, the white space is really important, right? But it should mean something. In other words, it shouldn't just be a break, but it should play a purpose, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit. But here, what Rankine does is she uses it to underscore the whiteness that in society, the whiteness that blinds us to the everyday slights of what it means to be a black man or live in a black body or brown body, right? The empty seat. A seat left empty on a train of a bus because the seat beside it is occupied by a person of color. A white person cutting in front of the narrator in a drugstore line and then apologizing because she did not see her. These are examples, like from the text, that how she's using white space to stand in for this other political actor, right, or political ideology, or just way of being, essentially. And this is one of the strengths of collage memoir. As I said, right, it is the white space, one of them. But it doesn't have to be used in the way that Rankine uses it, right? Sort of on the nose, but it can be used in a lot of different ways to create calm, anxiety, to stand in for silence. It can stand in for unwritten words and suggest rather than outright say. Remember, I've been talking a lot earlier in the semester about suggesting. One of the things that memoir does is we try not to outright say what happens. We make suggestions. And we hint at what happens, right? So, and some of you have been doing that, I think, pretty well. White space is another way to accomplish that. So check out that work. It's in the modules somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be. But check out the work and see how you might play around with white space in your own work. But another example of collage essay or a collage memoir is Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House. Beautiful piece, right? It is a memoir, right? I mean, you can argue about the structure of it all we want, but it is a traditional memoir in the sense that it tells the story, right? It tells a story about how when she was a graduate student at the University of Iowa in the MFA program, she meets her abuser, and they go through this whole relationship there, even after her abuser leaves to go to Bloomington, Indiana to attend another MFA program. Anyways, it's dark, it's mysterious, it's beautiful as well, right? Sometimes when you're the reader, you feel like you're a part of the relationship. Sometimes you feel like you're trapped in the prison house, and that's she does that. She does this, or she accomplishes this through the use of second person, the use of you. She never names her abuser, only appears as she, right, or as your girlfriend. So she really places the reader in the text. It's an interesting book. You can check it out. It's also in this canvas. I have it all the way down at the bottom. I can move it around though too if it makes sense. But if you pay attention to how Machado structures her story. She includes a lot of different genres in her book. She has fairy tales, she has physical descriptions, she has pop singles. She even has some like more traditional memoir essays. She has some reflections, and then she has like essays. Like it's a really fragmented and shattered structure, but that serves a very real purpose. Because it both represents the shattered structure of her own life and the story that she's telling, but it also is meant to shatter traditional structures that are largely written and produced by cisgender men and women. Because this is quintessentially a queer book, both in content and structure. And so the collage speaks to that because it undermines that hegemonic structure that we've all been used to, right? Another note, harkening back to place that we talked about a couple weeks ago, you can take from Machado's work is not just her collage structure, right, but rather her use of place. If you notice the way she relentlessly incorporates the dream house into each chapter, I mean, each chapter's title was In the Dream House, right, ... You can see that place, it's not inert, it's not just a setting, but it takes an active role in the storyline and character development, and rather it is a character in and of itself, right? So, in brief, that's two ways that the collage structure is done. Take a look at those works and see for yourself how that, you don't have to read them all. You can read through a couple of the essays and just kind of get a sense for it. I mean, the Rankin one is the most in your face, which I think might be the easiest one to get a sense of. Read a short amount of it. But give them a look and see how you might experiment with that in your own writing, whether it's in your larger piece or in the smaller piece for this week. All right? And again, I'm always open for questions. Love meeting with you all. I've been meeting with many of you throughout the semester. Keep hitting me up.